Howdy. Yes, once again, microwave stones and so on. Let's just have a quick look at that because I think it's very interesting, and from that we have a perfect introduction into the next thing. Let's just have a look. Yeah, it's a little bit warm, but as you can see, I don't have any gloves or anything. And it has a really nice pattern created on top of that. But where the hole was, where I somehow expected the action to happen, there didn't happen anything. And I noticed some problem. There's a fire and smoke. There, I guess you get the idea. There were some unexpected events going on. But anyway, that's the pebble in question. And somehow the pattern on this pebble reminded me of the picture on the left, which is the Summanen impact crater structure. Summanen structure, further geological and geophysical evidence of a meteorite impact event in central Finland, June 2023. So that's the article, Summanen structure. And yeah, I will put a link below, you can read it. I have been talking about this to some extent, but we have to scroll down to the discussion section, methods, results. For example, here we have very interesting pictures. I really would like to point this out, this form shape, since it is rather deep. And as I have found out by reading some papers about welding and the sulfur and its influence in welding processes, which seems to be very interesting because it makes stuff deeper penetrating into the working object. And I was reading this paper some days ago once again, or maybe weeks, I don't know. I often crisscross read papers. I read a snippet there, a snippet there, and a snippet there because I am searching for something. So it's not really possible for me to tell when I was reading which paper because they are crisscrossing. And every now and then you just stumble across things which make you think. Now let's just give me a second in order to find this one thing once again, which I found already back in the days when I first read this paper in the summer. Very interesting discussion. Yeah, I think it's in this. Let's just read this discussion. Maybe we'll stumble across it. Discussion. The available data indicate that Summanen is a well-preserved simple crater because caused by a hypervelocity impact. This conclusion is supported by petrographic observations of shocked material and geophysical anomalies typical of impact structures worldwide. Shatter cones in Summanen have been observed beyond the present aeroelectromagnetical outline of the crater structure, which is uncommon but not unique. The presence of shattered cones outside of 2.6 kilometers is evidence that the original structure must have been larger. Similar in-situ positioned shattered cones have been found at the edge and beyond the topographic depression in the Karikoselkä. Topographic depression. Remember this. Impact structure. Although the original diameter has been reduced by erosion since the formation, no evidence of a much larger diameter and complex morphology has been found. Thus, the formation of shatter cones is related to the shock pressures prevailing at the depth of the present erosional event. Analysis of topographic and bathymetric data indicates that the Summanen structure lacks a clearly defined circular depression or rim feature due to reshaping by glaciers. Yeah. You hopefully know what I think about glaciers, but anyway. However, it is apparent that the pre-quaternary cavity has been partially filled with glacial material and eroded. Bathymetric data reveal a depression on the southeast side of the geophysically derived ring, marked by a dotted black line, which reaches a depth of 20 to 40 meters. This depression follows the outline of the Aya and is curved on the southeastern side. It is likely that this side was subject to abrasion by the latest Weichselian ice flow in the direction of 120 degrees. Erratic boulders of impactites and post-impact fill found at the southeastern side from the lake are likely part of breccia from the inner slope and sedimentary layers from the bottom of the structure. Yeah. The supposed post-impact fill, silt and sandstones are relatively soft and loose, hinting a very local transport. It still didn't come across what I tried to tell you, what I found really interesting. Yes. Maybe I have to search it without you being with me. Uppermost level down to contrast. Here it is. I found it, finally. Where was it? I missed. Here. Deep saline groundwaters, or saline. Saline? Salty. Deep, salty groundwaters. Are commonly found in old craton areas worldwide, and various estimates of their origin have been proposed, including seawater evaporation or freezing, followed by infiltration, as well as water-rock interaction. Estimates of their age range from thousands of years to several hundred million years. In Finland, deep saline groundwater is attributed to long-term water-rock interaction lasting tens of millions of years. Deep saline groundwater. We propose that the increased conductivity is due to saline fluids filling the impact-caused fractures within the impact breccias, deep saline groundwaters. Yes, I was really thinking about that for several months since the article came out. As to how and why are there deep saline groundwaters here at the location or there at the location of this impact structure, because it's several hundred kilometers away from here. Yes, and I stumbled across something which I found very interesting. And it has to do with this oscillatory Marangoni flow, which is the article, I think, of where I have been talking about in this one video. Maybe I have to download it again, otherwise I have to search for it. Get on with it. Through Marangoni flow, a surface active agent can affect not only the weld pool depth, but also the pool surface deformation, pool surface oscillation, and ripple formation. So, that's a paper about welding, industrial welding. Laser spot welding. A surface active agent. In this case, they are talking about sulfur. I think they tell it quite at the beginning. Sulfur. We cannot zoom in here, so what to do? What to do with that? And if we scale this thing up, I mean laser spot welding, like, I mean really scaling it up onto the cosmological size or planetary size, we could probably think of this laser spot welding process as a thunderbolt between planetary bodies, just for example Earth and Venus. Because I really have to mention Venus over and over again, because you need to understand that Venus still has a very sulfur-rich atmosphere. And those geological features I'm talking about, which are here, also in our yard, they happened several thousand years ago, probably some 3,500. 1500 BC, when all of a sudden the Bronze Age began. You need to have bronze in order to have a Bronze Age. But anyway, let's scroll down a bit. Here, hopefully you remember this picture. On the left side there's a little sulfur, on the right side there is a bit more sulfur. And obviously you can see it's going much deeper. And of course I don't have any data or whatsoever in order to tell you how much parts per million of sulfur was present as Venus had its interaction with Earth or the tail of Venus. How much sulfur was in that? I have no idea. Maybe much more than 140 parts per million. Maybe. I don't know. But since I am not a scientist, and I really don't remember having had any chemical or physics in school, I have to learn these things like on the go. And yeah, I'm just interested in stuff. So I have been pondering about plus, minus, yin, yang, positive, negative, and stuff like that. And also, there has been some discussions about the plus sign and the minus sign. Anode and cathode. And the thing is, if you start to use this plus and minus, you will end up having like negative things. And one person I have been talking about this was, then he just said that, yeah, you cannot have a negative banana, like an anti-banana. It's just not possible. You know, it's a mathematical problem. There are no anti-bananas, you know. And if we don't have anti-bananas, we probably don't have antimatter as well. But anyway, so now I was thinking, if we are talking about polarities, it's a bit hard to deal with the minuses. Plus is always okay, but minus are a little bit bad. But you cannot have the minus without the plus and vice versa. So I was just thinking, since I'm not a mathematician, why not just take one of those universal laws, let's just say the magnetic vortex, the right-hand rule, the direction of the current, and the direction of the magnetic field. Instead of using a plus and a minus, we would just refer to the magnetic vortex direction. It's either left or right, or counterclockwise or clockwise. You wouldn't have any anti-bananas anymore. You just would have a clockwise or an anti-clockwise or counterclockwise banana. They are totally equal. Yeah, one spins the other way, one spins the other way. So no problem. Now we counted something now. The result is we got 2 which are spinning to the left and 2 which are spinning to the right. If we would use plus and minus, you would have maybe 2 pluses and 3 minuses. So you would end up with -1. Doesn't make any sense. But if we would just switch to vortex directions, we would have equal, what is it, entities or something. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician, but this is just what I think some mathematical problems could be solved. We would get rid of anti-bananas. And the same principles apply to the pH, acidic or basic. So I was reading about basic and oxides and stuff like that and tried to wrap my head around whatever things I was thinking about when I stumbled across this. That's Wikipedia, basic oxide. There is not much text. Yeah, that's good for simple people like me. Basic oxides are oxides that show basic properties in opposition to acidic oxides, and that either react with water, to form a base, or react with an acid to form a salt, and water, which are called neutralizing reactions. And I was thinking that, check it out, salt and water. And here we are, deep saline groundwaters. The thing is, that's a paper about a meteorite impact crater, which is supposed to be here. It's the lake Lappajärvi. Where was this other picture? Which I made the comparison to my stone, which has a similar pattern. Might be just a coincidence. Or might be not. Yeah, here, first of all, once again, a deep, or it's maybe not too deep, but it's the shape, which seems to me that it has been penetrating very deep. Which could indicate that there has been some sulfur in play in this event, because I think this is a sign or a remnant of an electrical discharge event. And if so, it would explain, first of all, why it has a shape as it has, because it's quite similar to... No? Where was it? Oh man. No? Yeah, let's take this one. That's a similar shape. But I was talking about this one. I would say the Summanen impact structure has more a shape like this than a shape like that, which would indicate that we would have more sulfur involved in the electric discharge event. And an important thing also to think about is, what was the bedrock made of? How did it react? And if we think about the constituency of whatever discharge event players have been involved, have they been acidic, more, or alkaline in nature? This would explain the deep saline waters, groundwaters, which are somewhere. Maybe let's take another picture in order to... Let's take this. So now, I assume that whatever stuff is coming from outside towards Earth, has it been in the past from Venus or Mars, or nowadays from the Sun? The constituency of the solar wind, planetary tails, or whatever discharge in wind events, dust clouds, and other things involved, they must have had a certain pH, and maybe they were fluctuating. Maybe parts of it they were highly acidic, parts of it were highly alkaline. React with an acid to form a salt. Yeah, it formed salt deep down there somewhere. That's why there is salt water beneath this crater. Yeah, I thought that's a very difficult video to explain somehow. What I mean. But we have the crater shape. We have sulfur being the, what was it, outside, the reactive element or whatever thing. And now we have possibly the reason for the salt. If there has been limestone on top and there was sulfur coming and stuff, it probably created salt down there. You know? But anyway, it's late. And I've been thinking since a while trying to make this video. Now I made it. It's probably not the best version you could make of. Someone who could make videos could explain this probably much easier and better understandable. But since I'm just like, you know, some random dude trying to explain these kind of things, what I think have a connection, and I think they are important because history repeats itself and stuff like that. But anyway, react with an acid to form a salt. Saline, deep groundwater. Yes. Might be electricity has been the trigger for the deep saline groundwater in the first place. And let's just quickly to end up this thing with one very important thing I have to really to mention. The MOHO depth. So there is deep saline groundwater underneath this crater, and that's the MOHO depth map of Europe. And where we are, or I am, here, and where this crater is, which is somewhere here, we have one of the deepest MOHO depths in whole Europe, maybe on the whole world. It's very deep, very, very deep. And if you watch satellite or weather, you will notice this line here too. Yes, but now this is just another upscaled proof for what I think why we have deep saline groundwater and stuff like that, because it has been penetrating very deep due to sulfur and electricity. Thanks. Bye.